An endorsement with the Wisconsin cheese manufacturers. But we'll see what happens on that.
During a house fire, this is what happens. As the flames build, a thick wall of black smoke slowly descends from the ceiling. Within 20 seconds, this room is black, creating a dangerous task for firefighters searching for victims.
But what people don't realize is when we come in, we have to crawl, keep one hand on the wall, and feel as we go to find a victim. That's how we find a victim right now, is crawling and feeling.
But now thermal imaging cameras are available, allowing firefighters to see any heat source, victims, furniture, hidden fire.
And with this, it takes seconds. You walk in a room, you look, and you can see if there's anyone in there.
Just take a look at the difference in this fire. Here is the inside of a burning building. The thick smoke makes it nearly impossible to see anything. Now look at the same fire through the eyes of the thermal imaging camera. Firefighters are able to locate a victim and drag him outside. The camera will not only save fire victims, but also firefighters by giving them a pair of eyes to see through the flames, something sorely lacking now.
You are virtually blind. The only thing you have to find your way around that room or in a building is just with your hands, and then you try to stay oriented, and with everything going on, it's really easy to become disoriented, and I think it's happened to many, many firefighters.
To buy 4 cameras, the department needs about $80,000 to $100,000, and it's launching a huge fundraiser by selling T-shirts sporting Rescue Cam Supporter.
This is going to be a fundraising campaign within the community, an opportunity for citizens to become involved in that fundraising effort, for businesses to become involved as well.
Involved in helping the department and perhaps helping themselves. No one ever expects a fire, but if one does occur, a camera could make the difference if it was your house, your family inside. Maureen Tallarico, News 6.
Has been kind of the coordinator and seeing to it whenever Sue needed to call. The Central Hillside Workforce Development Initiative. 1, 2, 3. All right, we're open.
We're trying to focus on helping people become more employable. There are a lot of people that are in the Central Hillside area that are not working, or maybe they're working the jobs that they really prefer to be working somewhere else. Maybe something more clerical related or computer related, and we're trying to offer them that opportunity free of charge.
You're right, but it is an obligation.
You bring
Again,
the press,
you're
you
interrupting
stage
me.
this is
Form and a due process to do that in, and it's not.
We have not had cooperation from your administration, and in many cases yourself, Mayor.
we are not going to
Excuse
do that
me,
here.
Mayor, I have the floor. Mayor, you say we're out of here.
Let's leave. This is ridiculous. Jack, I'm sorry.
The most seriously injured are some 19 kids who were removed from 2 buses and transported to hospitals. The accident involved a Head Start bus carrying preschoolers and a school bus that was going to Lucy Laney Elementary in North Minneapolis.
Your mom's hurt? Oh, your thumb. Your thumb. Okay. Come on, guys. He's got a right thumb.
Youngsters who weren't injured were shaken up when a school bus going the wrong way broadsided the smaller bus.
And I seen this bus turn coming up this street. I was like, he's going down the wrong way.
The Head Start bus bounced off this tree, flipped over, and landed right side up. The Head Start driver who assisted the preschoolers before help arrived had to be convinced to seek medical help for himself.
The kids are all taken care of. Okay? I will be okay. You know what? You're hurt. I will be okay. You know what? You need to go to the hospital. Okay? Your ambulance, your bus. That's the procedure you're supposed to do. You know what? The kids are okay now. We got them all taken care of. You're gonna go with one of the children to the hospital.
Residents around here say it's not unusual to see buses going the wrong way.
He was going too fast. I think he knew he was on a one-way and he was trying to hurry up and get off.
School transportation officials say they've never heard of buses going the wrong way here. They say today's mishap was unusual.
By and large, very minor injuries, mostly some bumps and bruises.
Head Start officials say there were some 13 to 15 students on this bus at the time. It rolled over, ages 3 to 5. And they credit these seat belts, which all youngsters must wear when they're on the bus, with the injuries not being more serious.
As bad as this may have been for those involved, professionals who deal regularly with accidents say this could have been much worse.
The area I'm talking about is right back in here.
Yvonne Stewart lives off Arrowhead Road and enjoys the wooded area not far from her home. She and her neighbors are worried about the possibility of development in what she calls her backyard.
It's like kind of living in the woods right in the middle of the city. And we have deer and beaver and bear and what have you. And we're really concerned that this is all going to be taken away from us.
Tonight, she'll be able to talk to city officials about any plans for growth.
It's going to be a real good opportunity to talk straight, eyeball to the mayor in regards to our concerns.
She hopes enough people will make a difference in city planners' decisions for her neighborhood.
We'll just say and do what we can, and what will be, I guess. But we are trying to have a voice.
From the trickling creeks and streams, grasses waving in the wind, and leaves showing the brilliance of fall, the Duluth Heights is a little piece of wilderness in the city for many living in the area.
The area I'm talking about is right back in here. And back
Yvonne Stewart says she savors the wooded area not far from her home off Arrowhead Road. She and her neighbors are worried about possible development in what she calls her backyard.
It's like kind of living in the woods right in the middle of the city. And we have deer and beaver and bear and what have you. And we're really concerned that this is all going to be taken away from us.
Stewart was one of about 100 local residents who made their opinions heard at a community meeting.
It's not just informing us, it's a two-way street.
It's consultation.
Residents who say they want to be part of the planning process.
Of wetlands, historical preservation, residential neighborhood, that's our vision for the future here. And I think that's really important. We're going to be diligent.
City planners say their input will have a huge impact on what goes in the prime development area. They don't have a definite plan yet.
Vicinity. They live here. The people who own businesses here have to conduct business here. We need to make sure it's a plan that works for those people.
This is the best way to do this, is to get people involved so they know what the process is, feel like they're being heard. As long as that happens, I think everybody wins.
Most residents were worried about preserving green space, increased traffic, and limiting development. And residents like Yvonne Stewart want to make sure they continue to have a say in what happens in their community. In Duluth, Kim Kaiser, News 6.
And I think that's my problem. See, the career politician won't be honest. When the career politician gets asked a question, they'll give the answer they're supposed to. They'll give the answer that's politically correct.
Governor Jesse Ventura says he won't stop speaking his mind, even when it gets him in trouble.
Just as in any field, in any walk of life, honesty is the best policy, but honesty has its limits, especially when you're going to be judged not simply on did you balance the budget, did you get us a rebate on our sales taxes, but also are you someone who can speak for our community.
As a political science instructor at UMD, David Pogue keeps a close eye on American politics and an even closer eye on Jesse Ventura.
There's always a role in American politics for a true outsider, and if nothing else, in this interview, Ventura has cemented himself as the true outsider in American politics.
The governor is drawing heavy criticism from lawmakers, policymakers, and the public for comments made in his Playboy interview. Some say the governor should consider stepping down and that he'll be committing political suicide if he has any thoughts of running for president.
It'll be much harder for Ventura to remake the Reform Party nationwide in his own image, and much less likely that he'll be taken seriously as a viable candidate.
But the latest poll taken in July on Governor Ventura's job performance puts his approval rate at a record 73%.
Even though his polls are still very good, he's probably in a position where the cumulative effects of mistakes and gaffes and excessive honesty start to add up, that at some point people are going to say enough is enough.
In Duluth, Jody Grayson, News 6.
The Bayfield Apple Festival is best known for one thing: the chance to bite, nibble, and gnaw all sorts of apple treats.
It's a perfect food. I mean, you can't help but like it. You can do so many things with it. You can bake it into a pie, you can eat it in a carameled apple, you can make apple dumplings.
I'm eating an apple dumpling with caramel on. I'm eating an apple dumpling with caramel on.
So how did the treats get into these twins' tummies? And everyone else's? With lots and lots of peeling?
Probably about 10 more minutes.
Sharon Johnson says she's lucky the Bayfield apples for her dumplings come already peeled. But she and her husband have been working non-stop during the busy festival.
She's making muffins here, apple muffins.
We serve as we bake, but then we have to kind of stockpile in that freezer.
Just go full blast all day.
The demand for apple bratwurst is hot too, from the long line to the cramped kiosk.
We got sauerkraut on both of them and one hot cider.
The apple puree is shipped down to Cumberland, Wisconsin, that goes into the bratwurst. The meat man mixes this puree in with his meat, and special recipe and everything, makes a bratwurst that's really great.
It's sweet. It's a little, yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So what keeps these folks going during this crazy weekend?
Eat apples. A lot of zip.
Even with all the work to bake and frost and rush the treats out here for folks to enjoy, I gotta say, it's worth it. In Bayfield, Kim Kaiser, News 6.
Thank you. They're too done. I probably about 10 more minutes. $7 out of 10.
The apple puree is shipped down to Cumberland, Wisconsin, that goes into the bratwurst. The meat man mixes this puree in with his meat, and special recipe and everything, makes a bratwurst. It's really great.
Wow, it's really a fun thing.
Try to make it around here, so that's right. Everybody's really thankful for people coming out to this festival, and you might win a Harley and doing something.
I'm a real strong proponent of children, and I really think that education, of our children is very important. Why not give us the best opportunity to provide good education for our children?
Glenn Christian is encouraging others to vote yes on a special school bond referendum that will allocate $15.5 million to the building of a new middle school. But not everyone agrees.
I'm not necessarily against the bond issue, and I'm not necessarily against building a new school. This community is a very philanthropic community, and I think these people would do anything for these children, but there's too many unanswered questions here.
Robert Ward says he's concerned voters haven't received adequate information. He questions the need for so much money and what happened to the money already set aside for the project.
What we need to do is get down to where is the money, who's going to be accountable, what's it going to cost us, and once those questions are answered, I think you're going to get exactly what you need here. You're going to get a middle school.
Concerns over the quality of older schools like this one is happening in towns all over the state. With the turn of the century just around the corner, people are thinking more about the future and say now is the time to make changes.
We can do so much more for the students. I mean, just give them the opportunity to be able to have technology, enhanced facilities.
It's a 1950s educational style building, and much of it is older than that, with a very poor quality, heating and lighting and electrical kinds of issues.
In 1998, a similar referendum was voted down by close to 200 votes. Now voters will once again decide if they're ready to build a new school. In Grand Rapids, Joe.
Brooke, my name is Greg Gilbert. I'm a candidate for mayor.
Election time is drawing closer for Duluth's mayoral candidates. Both Mayor Gary Doty and City Councilor Greg Gilbert are spending time out in the community, working to keep supporters and gain new ones, and to discuss hot topics in this race. Gilbert talked to reporters about his concerns over the progress of the new technology village. Just one stop in a busy day of campaigning, along with his duties as a lawyer and a city councilor.
And the question is, can we get out and make enough personal contact by election day to get our message across? And if we can, we're going to win this thing.
Gilbert spends most evenings working with volunteers, calling undecided voters.
I understand someone from our campaign called you a couple days ago and that you indicated you hadn't really decided who you're going to vote for yet. So I thought I'd hurry up and call you and introduce myself.
He uses the time to discuss his beliefs and to find out what the voters think.
Well, strategy for my campaign is that I do it 4 years at a time.
Mayor Doty says he's spending much of his time leading up to the election, continuing to do his job as best he can. And by attending as many events in the community as he can squeeze into his schedule.
When I show up at campaign time, people don't say, oh, here he comes, it's campaign time. They say, here he is again, he's been here year after year after year. So it's just kind of an ongoing process for me.
While Mayor Doty hopes a prosperous Duluth will help him get reelected, Greg Gilbert says he's hoping for a chance to make his mark on the city. In Duluth, Kim Kaiser, News 6.
Minnesota Governor Jesse Ventura.
A packed audience for the taping of CNBC's program Hardball.
It sounds to me like I got a hometown crowd.
But some of his hometown crowd lately hasn't been very pleased with the governor's comments in Playboy magazine. And it didn't take long for Ventura to comment on his interview.
Well, I say what I think, and I'm not afraid to do so.
Acknowledging the flack he's taken from the public over his comments.
I thought when you got elected, you lost your First Amendment rights lately.
Well, there's a quote of the week. Take that, Time magazine.
When asked what kind of a country he'd like to live in, Ventura spoke of one that upholds the amendments of the Constitution and referenced freedom of speech, a freedom that allowed him to call organized religion a sham. His comments on Hardball were noticeably tamer.
It's a sanctuary that if people desire or need it, it is there for them.
The no-nonsense talk impressed Harvard students accustomed to guest appearances by politicians.
I still think he is an inspiration for a lot of people out there. He's got a really strong opinion, and I think that's what you need today in politics.
I mean, I consider him a fairly genuine guy, and I think he's doing a good job as governor.
And in the role of Minnesota's governor, Ventura says there's nothing he'd rather be doing, a sentiment he did not echo when asked about being president.
I'm going to ask you this. I was going to say it to the end. My 17-year-old son, Michael, thinks you ought to be the next president. What do you think?
I think that I'm greatly flattered by Michael. Tell him that I greatly appreciate the honor that he would think of me in that light. But as I sit here in front of you right now, the bottom line is you have to want the job. I do not want the job.
Maureen Tallarico, News 6.
I am pleased to announce that a letter of intent to purchase the Minnesota Twins has been signed by an ownership group led by Bob Nagley Jr. and Glenn Taylor.
The owner of the Timberwolves and the principal owner of the Wild, along with several minority partners, will take over ownership of the Twins if and only if a new stadium is built, something Carl Pohlad couldn't accomplish, despite 2 World Series championships he delivered to Twins fans in the 15 years he owned the club.
Whatever reason, somehow something happened to the relationship, and maybe sometimes fresh blood can help turn around a relationship.
But at least one opponent of a publicly financed stadium says trading one wealthy owner for 2 others will hardly build public support.
Matter of fact, this new crew, you got the Wild and the Timberwolves owners in there. They got so much money they could build their own stadium and build one for the Vikings to boot.
This owner has vision.
He cares, and that's what it takes. It's not just about the money.
It's just another millionaire. It's, yeah, I don't think it's a good use of public funds.
There was one question no one would answer tonight.
And what about the selling price?
Taylor and Negley say the poll ads wanted that kept private.
This is one way for us to give back, to help the city of St. Paul, to help the citizens of Minnesota to keep the Twins here.
And with that, the new buyers become sellers of a stadium plan St. Paul voters will be asked to approve in less than a month.
I don't know of anybody who likes their environment that they work in as much as I do.
It's taken a long time to get good at it.
Fate and a shared love brought Dave Struck and Pete Johnson together. Dave was destined to buy boats.
I got wood boats, I've got inflatable boats, I've got metal boats, I've had steel boats, and I just like boats.
And Pete was destined to build boats, big ones, the old-fashioned way. He's not exactly sure why he does it. He says it might just be a Scandinavian thing.
I'm sure I had some ancestors back in Norway and Sweden that were doing the same thing.
This one will be a two-masted schooner when finished, a rare sight on the Great Lakes. This one is a double dose of history, though. The white side panels are wood from Duluth's old Arrowhead Bridge. The keel, lumber from a torn-down grain elevator. Next summer, Lucy, as she's affectionately called, will sail the Apostle Islands as part of Dave Struck's charter business. For Pete, the hours spent building the schooner pay off, keeping him in touch with his heritage. He says traditional boats really touch all of us in some way.
There's so much of your past that we can't piece together anymore, and you know, maybe that's part of the answer. It's some of the missing pieces.
Pieces we'll all be able to touch, feeling what some of the earliest Northlanders felt, a romance with Lake Superior and the devices we use to harness her power. In Bayfield, Jason Rice, News 6.
The Coast Guard station in Duluth handles more than 100 water emergencies a year. Some are boaters in distress. Others are people stranded in freezing waters similar to these victims. Scott Richards' survival story is indeed rare.
It's pretty amazing. The guy's, technically he's not supposed to live through that, being that he didn't have a life jacket on or anything like that. It's astounding.
What's incredible about Richard's survival is the fact that he wasn't wearing a life jacket or any type of cold water suit. He wasn't even on shift at the time. Richards came on deck to make a cell phone call, and that's when he noticed some loose barrels. He went over to the side of the boat to secure the barrels, and that's when he slipped, fell overboard 30 to 50 feet into the dark waters below. One would think Richards would be all but dead after not only a serious fall, but water temperatures only in the mid-40s. But not according to one of the country's leading experts in hypothermia.
Actually, if you look at your physiology, it's not all that surprising that he could last that long. The temperature seems to be cold, and it is, but it takes a long time to cool off.
Cooling down the body to dangerous levels is something Dr. Lawrence Whitmers has studied for years, with a cold temperature chamber and water tank in the basement of the UMD Medical School.
He's already starting to shiver, Dr. Whitmers.
Whitmers believes the 3-hour, 4.5-mile swim may actually have helped save Richard's life. But even he says the man is lucky.
The cold wouldn't kill him in a half hour or an hour. Okay.
3 hours?
3 hours you're stretching. Yeah, probably in 3 hours. But he's exercising, so he's keeping his temperature up.
That's good.
Yes, sir. But unless you're an exceptional swimmer and shore is within sight, search and rescue experts say you should conserve your energy and stay as still as possible in the water. And always wear a life vest. Scott Richards is the exception. Most people in his situation don't make it.
There was like 34 or so deaths on the Great Lakes this year due to boating accidents and stuff like that, and this was the only guy that survived without wearing a life jacket.
On Lake Superior, Maureen Tallarico, News 6.
I learned a lot in what other teens thought, and it was pretty much what we thought too, you know. Everybody thinks the same, and I thought it was cool, so.
I was really impressed with the leadership of the students, with their investment in the process today, with their ideas, their energy. It was just a really wonderful experience to be a part of.
Hazmat teams had to be called into this Grand Rapids neighborhood after police found equipment and chemicals used to make the drug crank.
When they put these chemicals into the mix to produce this methamphetamine, you end up with these toxic and explosive byproducts.
Investigators determined the air quality is safe, but Chief Carey says the bigger concern is the drug lab's location, in the middle of residential Grand Rapids.
Oh, scared to death. My 13-year-old boy is afraid to go outside now.
Oh no.
He says, Mom, I don't know if I dare go outside anymore.
Even more concerned, the principal of Forest Lake Elementary School, only 250 feet away from the drug lab.
Shocked, the idea that something like this was going on this close to our school. And as it sinks in, though, you think of things that seem to be occurring across our nation, our country, and I guess something like this, then you just kind of think, well, it must be in this area too then.
The principal is meeting with school staff to review emergency plans and discuss concerns.
We want to look at this and make sure that we're keeping safety in mind, and that's our first thing.
According to Chief Carey, meth lab busts have doubled in Minnesota from last year.
The problems in greater Minnesota are just as bad per capita as it is in the metro. My fear is with the use of methamphetamine increasing in the rural areas in Minnesota, greater Minnesota, is that with that use comes crime. I mean, it's domestic violence. The paranoia that comes with the use from methamphetamine is just tremendous. These people start using methamphetamine, the more they use, the more paranoid they become. The more paranoid they become, the more violent they become.
The biggest targets, rural areas.
Methamphetamine is to rural communities what crack cocaine is to urban communities.
In Grand Rapids, Danielle Prenovo, News.
Group to look at the ordinance. I think they should ask those questions, but I think they should.
The council now can set a policy that will give direction that says if there is an amount, $10,000 or $5,000, whatever they set that amount to be, that would come back to the council for final approval.
Besides, what else? I guess
it kind of makes me laugh besides being angry. How do you take it back? He confessed. His attorney even made a statement that, you know, Donald Blum confessed to the kidnapping and murder of Katie Poyer. And why would he go to the press with this? If he feels that this was wrong and that he was railroaded, it just makes people just shake their head in disgust.
I'd be lying if I said no. Real hard, but
It kind of makes me laugh besides being angry. How do you take it back? He confessed. His attorney even made a statement that, you know, Donald Blum confessed to the kidnapping and murder of Katie Poyer.
Bree Taylor and Brian Barry spent the morning trudging up and down steps, going from house to house on London Road.
We're here for the Share Food Drive, and we're collecting canned food items for the local food shelters. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Very nice of you. Thank you.
Then they pile the food they collect in their van, which follows along after them. It's a team effort from Duluth East Athletes Against Drug Use, now volunteering for the Share Food Drive.
It's a beautiful day, and it's a very easy, simple way to help serve those who don't have enough food.
I'm Dave Taylor. I'm a volunteer for the Share Food Drive today.
Dave Taylor says his family and his students are learning life lessons from the work.
Well, I think there's very little in life that makes us feel better internally than doing something for somebody else. A lot of times we get caught up in our own agendas and we forget that maybe there's other people that need some help sometimes.
His daughter Bree says it's helping them too.
Makes you feel really good because you're helping others, and it's just nice to see the community working together to help put food on others' tables that aren't as fortunate. So.
They joined their efforts with volunteer groups covering neighborhoods all over the city, with overwhelming results.
We separate everything as far as boxes, plastic, glass, and canned goods.
With just a morning's work, local food banks get a solid start at preparing for the coming winter. In Duluth, Kim Kaiser, News 6.
Puck, you're gonna put it somewhere, like right there. Right here.
Well, I think there's very little in life that makes us feel better internally than doing something for somebody else. A lot of times we get caught up in our own agendas and we forget that maybe there's other people that need some help sometimes.
Makes you feel really good because you're helping others, and it's just nice to see the community working together to help with food on others' tables that aren't as fortunate. So.
Yes. Yeah, well, that's great. I bet you've seen quite a day.
There are a lot of things in our modern world that can cause eye strain, but it's not as hard as you may think to correct the problem.
When I was driving at night, the headlights were a real bother, as well as being at the computer for more than 3 to 4 hours at a period.
Carlo was experiencing a common problem for eyeglass wearers, eye fatigue caused by glare.
I noticed I was getting major headaches and eye strain.
So Carlo bought a pair of glasses with anti-reflective coating. The invisible coating can be added to any eyeglass lens and actually improves your vision. Optometrist Dr. Mark Sturgis says the image you see is up to 16% less intense when you wear glasses than when you don't, and that can be a critical difference in dim light situations or at night.
This anti-reflection coating allows you to get back most of that, so you're actually seeing 99.5% of the light.
One drawback is that the coating can make the lenses more vulnerable to scratches. But new technology has reduced that problem somewhat, making the lenses more durable and easier to clean. Carlo says it's made all the difference to him.
Now, I won't drive at night without a pair of glasses, without anti-reflective coating.
The lens coating costs from $60 to $80 more than a standard pair of glasses.
They come in hundreds of sizes and colors, and it's safe to say Ray Buck loves them all. He can't really explain it.
They're just, in general, very nice pets.
Ray has quit his job as a longtime diesel mechanic to chase something he says is a little less harmful to his health. His pet shop sells everything from iguanas and geckos to scorpions and spiders, even some tiny turtles. In the looks fun for now category, there's a pair of young caiman, but Ray hasn't always loved snakes.
And I've been doing snakes for about 6 years now, snakes and small alligators. Doing educational programs on the road, that for schools and city events. So we got over 30 reptiles of our own.
And you can imagine what it might be like to keep up with the critters. Ray says there's a little less cleanup than you might think.
Clean the cage about once a week, and when they do go bathroom, it's usually in the water dish, so you change the water dish.
In the water dish?
Yeah, and then you just change the water dish instead of cleaning the whole cage all the time.
His grocery bill is admittedly odd. Right there's lunch for a few lizards this week, 2,000 unsuspecting crickets. As for the snakes, we won't talk about their diet. Fortunately, they don't eat very often. Ray Buck says his real goal is to educate people. He feels snakes have been falsely given a bad rap.
I believe so, because in the 6 years I've been doing this, I have not found one thing bad about snakes.
In Lincoln Park, Jason Rice, News 6.
And I don't know how many you could tie around you like that.
Oh, quite a few.
And if you just walked around with...
To give you an example, if you buy a program from Microsoft and it doesn't work, there's an 800 number on your program, on your software program. You call that number. Though you're calling a company like Sykes to get your fixed and walk you through the problems you're having with your software program.
These healing homes are not starter homes for our kids. In fact, it's state line. $40,000 pickup.
And it's difficult to give $3.5 million away when you've had absolutely no thought about it whatsoever and no information, and you've got to make a decision in 10 minutes or 15 minutes. It's extremely difficult for me.
Has she returned home? Okay, have you heard from her at all?
The calls come in by the thousands here at the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
Do you have an address?
And Minnesota has its share. But 10 years ago, one abduction captured a community and transfixed the state.
Jacob Wetterling werd door een gewapende en gemaskerde man.
A kidnapping that has literally had global impact. Of the more than 2,000 kids reported missing each day in the U.S.,
Only a handful of those cases have ever touched us as much as Jacob Wetterling. Yet in all of those cases, those who feel the greatest impact are, of course, those who already know the child, the family, friends, and in Jacob's case, his peers.
Classmates like Scott Zimmer, who remembers feeling his whole world is suddenly changing.
And I get home from school and there it is on the news. Jacob Wetterling, your friend, got abducted last night. And I was just like, boom, you know, in your face.
As he watched Minnesota's largest ever manhunt for Jacob's abductor, Scott felt his own sense of security slip away.
It just made you question everybody. Sitting in the car while your mom ran in the store, you eye everybody. Is that him? Is that him? Could that be him? It's always mind.
We have a special guest today, Scott Zimmer.
Now a senior at St. John's, Scott volunteers to speak to kids about personal safety on behalf of the Jacob Wetterling Foundation.
Sometimes you have to yell. Sometimes
he is not alone in his activism.
You could taste the fear.
Allison Fay fights that same feeling of helplessness.
It was an issue that I worried about for a long time, and now I'm starting to become less afraid and do things to make myself less afraid. So it's up to you to, you know, stand up and say, okay, well, that's not accurate. You know,
Allison is a senior at St. Olaf's, where she co-chairs the Sexual Assault Resource Network, enjoys theater, and has created her own unique degree program.
I'm Allison Fay, I'm a senior, and I'm a communication major, and I'm in the para-college with a senior concentration in responding to missing children. Jacob was not given that chance to speak up and say, you know, this isn't fair, this shouldn't be happening to me. He wasn't given that chance, and I just feel like other people need to be stepping in and speaking that out for him. We're doing shot 2, but it's me talking.
That commitment to make what happened to Jacob something positive led Allison to create a public service announcement speaking directly to Jacob's abductor.
Remember us.
Spoken by Jacob's former classmates.
Remember us?
We're not going to forget you.
And it still affects me. I don't like to go out at night when it's dark out.
You took my friend 10 years ago.
I was defenseless then. It's like we were scared to go outside even when it happened.
I'm not going to give up.
Until I find you.
This is kind of a fun reunion. Do you guys see each other very often?
Patty Wetterling has watched all of them grow into young adults.
Yeah.
I think it's very powerful watching these kids that were in Jacob's class, now they're 21, to go from a state of being victims as well and total fear and powerlessness, and all of a sudden it's shifting to a place of power and a statement. We are going to care. We will make a difference. We cannot tolerate victimization of children. You took our friend.
Remember us.
Jacob's classmates are reminders that he would now be 21. Pete Banks works with Patty at the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
You know, if this person who took Jacob, took him to keep him, you know, over these last 10 years, Jacob's personality, or at least the way he perceives the world, can be changed immensely.
Okay,
Patty's response is, I know, but I had 11 and a half years to influence Jacob.
And if that's the way it is, we have to get him out of that. You have to extricate him from these horrible situations. You know, you can't just leave him there because he's not the same kid.
She knows the chance of finding Jacob is remote, yet her search is relentless, and her attitude has now captured Jacob's generation.
You know, when there's uncertainty, you have doubt and you have hope. And Patty chooses to hold on to hope. And that inspires me so much that I choose to do the same thing.
It looks good.
It's a choice Jacob's peers would argue is not at all naive.
Those opposed? No. Motion's carried. Thank you.
And his report indicates that won't be verbally repeated.
I felt that we probably didn't agree upon.
Closes the FAPR valve and keeps his and all the other basements in that area from flooding. After 20 or 30 minutes, when the rain subsides, his toilet's empty, the water flows through his drains, the FAPR valve opens. Now, as far as I'm concerned, that, regardless of the roots And regardless of any other consideration, a flapper valve in her basement would have precluded this particular instance.
"93 years in American Lake, and all we had was the game of baseball.
Here is a new baseball, a brand new one, and I'm just hoping that you don't have too many curveballs in it.
The Twins onto the field. Mudcat Grant takes his final warm-up pitches, and the stage is set for the opening of the 1965 World Series. Around on this one, he pulls it down the line. It's another home run. And Minnesota leads 4-1.
Cuellar into his windup, delivers. A curveball swung on is a high fly ball. Hit number 500 for Harm Killebrew.
We are going to try to make it through 84.
To relax, to get away from the phone, the job, the stress.
Leonard Miller's Wisconsin cabin became a target for burglars, hit 3 times. So he took drastic actions. He rigged a shotgun in his shed to shoot whomever opened the door next. Last month, he pleaded guilty to negligent handling of a dangerous weapon after his gun shot a would-be burglar in the leg. It's an extreme measure, but Len says the no trespassing signs just weren't working.
Most of the time they're looking for either money or items that they can sell easily.
Douglas County Detective Gary Gulbrenson says cabin owners should keep several things in mind.
Whether your cabin's along the road or buried deep in the woods, there could always be somebody looking to break in. The idea is not to leave them anything to be interested in the first place.
Don't leave any valuables, and if they are able to look through a window and they see there's no TV or VCR in the living room, they might just pass you by.
If burglars are determined, Gary says they will break in. You can only try to scare some away.
Good locks will keep the curious out, but you're right in the other regard. There are other things you can do. Good lighting systems with motion sensors. If you're not going to be at your cabin for an extended period of time, you could ask a neighbor or friend to stop by once in a while. That could prevent some aggravation if somebody does break in and leaves the door open all winter.
Following the detective's advice, next spring your getaway might look as peaceful as you remember it. Jason Rice, News 6.
With a symbol of life, Angie Borg once again keeps memories of her angels alive in this central Minnesota cemetery.
This is a hard place for me to come.
In 1996, 5-year-old Alex and 4-year-old Brandon died an unthinkable death. Kurt Frank slashed his sons' throats.
He had talked about one time that if the boys and I were leaving, we might as well be dead, but I thought that was just something out of anger.
Angie's estranged husband killed the kids during an unsupervised visit, and now Mom visits and reflects here.
I feel like when we come out here and we leave, that I have to leave them behind, and so it kind of pulls at it every time we leave, that I'm not with them.
But the boys aren't left behind or forgotten.
Alex and Brandon got killed by their father, and that's why we're here. Oh, come here, come here, come here. Jeez.
And today, Angie gathers with folks in Brainerd to try to protect other kids from her boy's fate.
1, 2, 3.
A groundbreaking to build the Alex and Brandon Child Safety Center.
Here, walls of protection will rise for the parental exchange of kids during unsupervised visits. Minnesota's Chief Justice believes Alex and Brandon's center will save lives.
They inspired and motivated people to act. And because of that, they will be the shade. The center will be the shade to protect and provide safety to many other children.
For Angie Borg, the center's now a symbol of her boys' lives.
It really brought it to life that they're still here. I mean, that they're still with us and that they're going to continue helping.
I'd like to have our own students see the photography that takes place and the photographs that are here, so they get an appreciation of their own country land that they are from, and understand that there are more modern places than what some of us may think. They always think of rice fields and a lot of wetlands and so on.
In a minute, okay? I want to just take her out. My main concern is my client.
Right? I mean, yeah. Even with a very strong student body, we still sent the 18. That's what she wants to do. No, it's mine. Hi, good to see you. I know, that looks confusing to me, fella.
You want to store to our room?
They can provide services. Well, why not? I mean, I think every day that goes by that we should ask ourselves, not only did we educate one more student or did we do research or whatever, but what sort of community service? Why should Minnesotans value us beyond just the students who are enrolled? And I think this is a great example of that.
The second graders get to go to the...
Is that your favorite book, or do you have other favorite books?
Well, I like to hear a violinist that was brought in from California who played electric.
We're glad to supply these talented students.
That's wonderful.
I think they're very enthusiastic about it.
After a cold and snowy start, the 1990s have seen conditions warm up over the last couple of years. Much of that moderation can be attributed to the La Nina and El Nino currents out in the Pacific. Last year, La Nina was the background for a winter that featured very warm temperatures. That La Nina is still in place, but it doesn't guarantee that we'll see a repeat of the toasty temperatures. Here's how a La Nina plays a role in our weather. When you have a large pool of cool water in the southern Pacific Ocean, it squashes the development of a second jet stream. Without competition, the northern branch of the jet takes over and guides the weather for our hemisphere. That means enormous domes of Arctic high pressure can slide down into the lower 48, and we're the first ones in their path. Sounds frigid, but there is a ray of hope. You've heard the saying, what goes up must come down. Well, in meteorology, that works out to what goes down must come up. For every time a major cold snap envelops the area, a balmy period will follow. The bottom line is going to look like this. We'll see frequent blasts of cold air sweeping down from northern Canada. At times, I believe we'll even set low temperature records. On the positive side, we'll get periodic breaks from the freezer, which will help keep spirits up during the months ahead. When will the truly cold air arrive? Right now, it looks like it'll pull into the region in the middle of December, just in time for the holidays.
Greeted by applause and a long line of autograph seekers.
My goodness, we're going to be here a while.
Yep.
Pat Buchanan, freshly self-exiled from the Republican Party, found a warm welcome on his first trip to Minnesota as a reformer. For more than 2 hours, Buchanan scrawled signatures on his controversial book.
Would you do my book, please?
Harshly reviewed in some circles because of his opinion on Hitler. But Buchanan's supporters say they admire his candor.
I think he speaks from the heart. I think he's very honest, regardless of whether it's the popular opinion. He says it.
If that sounds like someone else Minnesotans are well acquainted with, Jesse Ventura would not welcome the comparison. Unwilling to meet with Buchanan in person, he sent envoys instead, who played down Buchanan's apparent popularity.
I compare it to if we have Pat Buchanan coming in and we subsequently have Howard Stern at the other end of the spectrum.
But Buchanan was clearly disappointed.
And we were hoping to set up a little courtesy call. We were unable to schedule it, but I've met with the governor before when I came in, and I would hope to meet with him again. And I understand he may not be a strong supporter of mine for the nomination, but he's got every right to oppose me.
Pat Buchanan may have to get used to it, calling his switch from Republican to reform a Cortez-like decision. He acknowledged there will be no going back.
It is sort of a Cortez-like decision where you burn the ships and you got no choice but to keep marching inland, and it better work.
Mr. Buchanan,
There's no doubt about that. There are going to be no welcome home parties for Pat Buchanan.
We set out on a path to talk about various issues of streets and jobs and neighborhoods, and we did that, and have gotten out to people, talked to people on the phone, and done everything that we wanted to do. So we're just right on track where we want it to be, and now it's in the voters' hands.
Just been very thrilling. I've enjoyed meeting all new people. It's been very exhilarating, especially the March to Victory that we had at the end. The people that joined us, the people that waved out of the cars and waved support, and actually it was so funny, people would actually wait along the route for us to come and then talk to us. People stopped their cars and
You can't help but notice these small mountains of rock as you drive through West Duluth past the ore docks. But up close, the piles are even more amazing, over 70 feet high, and any given day, you might find Jerry Williams at the top, driving a bulldozer.
I think the hardest part for me was getting up there, learning how to climb the pile.
This is one job that isn't for the squeamish. In fact, there are only a couple of workers who actually volunteer to tackle the piles.
If we didn't have anybody that really felt comfortable getting up there, we wouldn't force anybody to do that because it is a little scary.
This grayish pile is calcite, a mineral used in the process of making flux taconite pellets. The calcite has to be dozed for most of the winter because it freezes into big chunks. Dozing breaks it up a bit, and for Jerry Williams, it breaks up part of his workday.
Time goes by quite fast, and you get to see the scenic part of Duluth.
What was it like the first time you did it? Was it scary when you came up to the edge?
Frightening, very frightening. And you have to just keep doing it, and the more you do it, the more confidence you build up. And at that point, then it just becomes a regular job.
He comes close to the edges where going even 1 foot too far could spell disaster. Jerry's calm about it, though. He's in control, even if he is literally living on the edge. For that, he's earned the respect of his coworkers and even the boss.
I know it takes guts. I was up here and just driving around on the top, it's a little bit scary. It takes some getting used to, so yeah, it does take guts.
So next time you drive by the DM&IR docks, give a wave to Jerry. He's probably the one in the dozer at the top of the mountain. Duluth's reigning king of the hill. Jason Rice, News 6.